Hello and welcome to patch 14.16 of League of Legends, the game where everything changes, nothing stays the same, and anything you like will eventually be gone. My name is Chris, and joined with me is my patch review duo partner, Jason.
Hey, Chrissy. Back for 14-16, the small patch. But I don't know, man. You're calling me your patch review duo partner. I guess I'm the patch review duo partner. But I noticed you had a different partner back on your 100th subscriber video, which was excellent, by the way. I got replaced by a fucking sandwich.
Well, we did a video after that sandwich video, but I know what you mean. The one we did with moist cream cheese was after that, but yeah.
Who did you like partnering with more, me or the sandwich?
Ah. I don't know, man. I mean, 24 strips of bacon, it's hard for you to compete with that. You know?
I can only agree, man. It's a good call.
You're
I'll,
right. I
I'll go
should
to
have
the
put it in the
sandwich.
oven, though. That would have been more interesting.
Thing about the sandwich, though, it was here for a good time, not a long time. So now you're stuck with me.
Alright, it's going to be just us today. I was hoping to get Joey and Jade back in on this, but they're a fickle duo that's hard to pin down and do these with, despite the fact that they play 30 hours of League a week.
Maybe replace them with a sandwich.
Alright, let's get right back into this. First up, we got this change to Home Guard. Now it lasts a little longer right off the fountain, which for just 3 seconds extra alone, you'll definitely cover some more distance with that.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to, make a huge difference for the base defenses at the end of the game, because I think as soon as you go into combat, you lose home guard, if I'm not mistaken. But as far as just getting back onto the map in the mid game and the late game, this is nice, especially with those long ass death timers.
Yep.
And speaking of which,
We've now increased it from 6 to 52 to 10 to 52. I don't know, I guess I was under the impression that at one point you could be dead for like 70 seconds. Was that a thing at some point?
it definitely was. I think I've still seen death timers above 60 recently. It might be that there's other factors um on what I don't know for sure. Even 50 seconds with the way that the turrets fall now, and the way that every single like ability can basically be used on a turret now, and two shot it. Like
I
even 50 seconds at the end of the game is just an eternity.
I think longer death timers are better for the state of the game, honestly. I
I
think
certainly
just
don't mind longer death timers in the beginning of the game. And this is actually the change they made, because the timers are actually the same from 11 to 18, and it's if it's from 1 to 10 that they changed these timers. Did you realize that level 10 has such a big jump in your death timer? I mean, before this patch, it was apparently 26 to
yeah,
33.
this is like something that's been changed like 3 times in 15 years. So
It's so weird that it's like level 9 and 10 are just such big jumps in your death timer, and like it's not really that big at every other stage of the game.
yep.
So that was very strange to me. But anyhow, I don't really mind the timers being increased to 10, 12 seconds if you actually get yourself killed at the beginning of the game. Obviously, that's going to put you behind even more. But honestly, if you're getting killed at level 1, you either done goofed spectacularly, or if you're getting killed in lane, you either goofed spectacularly, or the other team, ganked you at level 2, and really put a lot of resources into doing that, or you committed to an all in and you decided to just play like a clown. As far as like dying at level 1, like in an invade or something, 10 seconds you'll still be back on the map. Unless I guess the one thing that will change a lot for the invades is that if it turns into like a big like 5v5 fight, people who get killed won't be able to re-enter the fight and turn it nearly as quickly. And that is actually a thing that happens in a lot of my level 1 invids. Often I'll have my whole team like stacked up in a bush in case the other team invades, and then that turns into a big fight. And everybody who dies is getting back into the fight by like a minute and a half.
Nothing shows like League silliness more than dying to someone who died earlier in the fight.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that. Although those level 1 like shitstorms can be very fun. Yeah, I think like the biggest impact of this really is gonna be level 8, 9, 10. When you have another 4 or 5 seconds. I guess like 4 seconds is the most that the death timers are being increased. 20 instead of 16, for instance. That's going to give the other team not only more time to to hit at your turret plates, which aren't as valuable anymore. Not only is it going to cause you to miss more waves, but it's also going to let them set up for objectives better and maybe snowball a little bit more off kills. I'm okay with this all. I do kind of wonder what the main reasons for the change are, because it does a lot of different things. It has a lot of little knock-on effects. I'm okay with it overall. What do you think? I think you said you think that the longer timers are better for the game, right?
Yes, but I feel like this would be the most impactful top lane, because top lane is in such like a wretched meta right now that almost every games you don't even directly go to farming the first minion line. You just zone, and it doesn't even matter which champ you're playing or which champ you're playing against. Like 90% of the time, your counterpart will just run up to you and duel you in a battle of auto attacks in some vain attempt to like zone you, enforce an early teleport, or just to get level 2 first. And it won't even matter. They'll be perfectly happy just dying for a level 1 trade or something like. So yeah, I mean, it's top lane has never been more wretched right now.
That'll happen with these longer timers. Okay.
They'll just run right past like the entire minion line and just auto you all the way back to like your turret.
I just can't believe they went from 26 to 33 at level 10 of all things. It wasn't even like on a breakpoint, like where you get your second level ult. Where after level 10, it's just 2.5 seconds per level, but between 9 and 10, 26 to 33, that was insane.
Alright, enough of this crapola. Let's talk about some champions. Not really that interesting about
Not that
Azir.
many, right?
No, not a lot. I don't even want to talk about Azir. I'm still depressed.
We've talked about him a lot. Like, this will make his early lane phase a little bit easier, just a little bit, and does nothing else.
He's fallen so far, it's just depressing to talk about.
Yeah, Corki's more interesting.
Somewhat, but I'm also still extremely salty on how they completely pushed him out of like the niche that he had for 14 years, which is kind of.
They gave him the new niche. He's the he's the old AP Kog'Maw. He's like the long range start like making like big poke at 6.
Well, first off, he could do that before, and secondly, now he only does like physical damage and a little bit of true damage. He doesn't do like as much magic damage now, and he definitely does crit magic like he used to.
Like I said, it's just a different niche. So they gave him some real nerfs here, like Faust Bomb, even 1 second more cooldown on a skill like that you can use 2 or even 3 times in an extended team fight later on. That's important. And then as his main wave clear skill, increasing the level 1 mana is really bad for his wave clear. This is pretty significant nerfs in my opinion.
Yes, but this ability was largely unchanged for a very long time and did finally get a lot of buffs, such as a ratio that's actually not garbage.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. And his ultimate is still pretty ridiculous. I mean, it's not something that's gonna like one-shot kill you, but for the frequency which you can use it and the amount of damage it can chunk off with each one,
I don't think it's as great as you seem to think it is.
And why do they keep nerfing him then? That was like the one really good thing they gave him.
He basically has to build crit now to get like kind of the same impact as he did before, whereas before he had a lot of build variety. In fact, I'd argue to say that he had like one of the widest build varieties in the game, to the point where it was almost silly the amount of things that you could build on him and still be relevant. Now, if
Agreed.
you want to get like
Agreed.
the most out of his ultimate, you have to build crit, or you're going to have this redonkulous recharge timer on his ultimate that's just kind of unpalatable.
I mean, you can still hold all the missiles. And it's got a 2-second cooldown.
He had that before.
Oh, sorry,
I'm
2-second cooldown, a 20-second recharge. Right. But even if you have no crit, like 2 seconds for every single auto attack is fine.
eh.
I mean, that's auto attacks that are used against monsters, against minions. I mean, he can stack those up, but more importantly, once he has stacked them up, even if he just stacks up 3 or 4 of them, right? That's a recharge of 60 to 80 seconds, which is still equivalent to like most champions ults. And remember that every single third shot, he's doing 560 at max rank, plus 160% bonus AD damage. I mean, he's chunking you for well over 1,000 damage if he's fed late game. For just one out of several missiles that he's got stocked up. And that can hit multiple champions too.
Yeah, I still think he can be good just by the nature.
He was never able to do this before his rework.
He was way
He was
better.
able to do damage, but he wasn't able to do this kind of damage with his ultimate from that range.
He was way more threatening before his rework, especially when he had the package.
Yeah, I think you're just sure. When he had the package, once every 6 minutes, he could be threatening.
He had that for like 2 or 3 years or something. It was.
Once every 6 minutes. He had the package for many years. I think that was done in like season 6 or 7. We're in 14 now.
Maybe
but
longer.
But anyway,
people don't realize what he's lost. It is basically like having Azir in the bot lane or something.
Yeah, you're just sleeping on. I understand your point that he used to have like a lot of good things that people slept on, but you're sleeping on how ridiculously good his ultimate is now.
It was good before. That's why people built AP on him, because that's how good it was.
It was a long time since people built AP Corki.
What? People were doing that right up until he was reworked.
They were
in fact, that was the only way people would build him.
ARAM they were. Nowhere else.
Alright, let's move on to Katarina. We've got way more base damage on the Q, which you're basically... No, you really are just forced to max this. None of her abilities are actually impactful whatsoever. All the damage is from her passive and her ultimate. And so this is definitely going to make the pre-6 Katarina struggles a bit less. But if you're good on the champion, you really don't even experience that weak point.
Yeah, she can be threatening at all points in the game. So we have, more damage on the Bouncing Blade, less on the Shunpo, which I think she procs every time she picks up a dagger, right? Oh, no. This is just for the Shunpo? Yeah. And then less on hit on the Death Lotus, which I think recently, Katarina would generally, but not always, build on hit, right?
I think it's a strong build, but I think her AP is a stronger build.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean there are good AP assassin items in the game now. So okay, so you think this is probably a buff overall?
It's definitely a buff to her laning phase. As far as the on-hit stuff goes, that's definitely something you'll be feeling more when you already have Bork, Titanic, Kraken Slayer much later in the game.
Sure.
Shunpo, you're not really going to feel because it purposely has no damage on the ability. Plus, since her little half-ass rework a long time ago, all of her buttons imply on-hit effects now. So.
Right. Shunpo is mostly used for mobility and for proccing her passive.
Yep, it's all about the passive.
So that base damage loss isn't much, but I don't know. Yeah, I feel like definitely that Death Lotus nerf is gonna hurt. But I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying, that bouncing blade, even 10% AP, if you are building her AP, I mean, that's going to make up for it with how many times you can proc that. Okay,
Yep.
cool. What do you think about Katarina's spot in the game right now?
Uh, well, I think this version of Katarina is it's kind of like Rise, and she hasn't gotten the dumbed down version of herself yet. This version of Katarina is like the most user unfriendly and the least approachable. The first two iterations of Katarina were much more easier to play and much more straightforward. I'm not going to
Yeah,
say this is convoluted as like Gangplank's Barrows, but it's kind of like that, where
yeah,
you have to
definitely.
put a lot of time into understanding where the daggers are going to land and where their landfall positions based on being if you hit a minion or hit an enemy champion, and you have to put a lot of time onto this champion. Obviously she's still quite devastating in like the skilled hands and stuff like that, as she's always been, but I don't think she's very popular right now,
I don't see
and
too
she's
much of
very
her.
bad
Yeah.
against the AD assassins mid lane,
Oh, good point. Good point.
which
Yeah,
are pretty much a perennial thing these days, so good
she
luck with
definitely
that.
can do her job. I mean, she's still good against mages mid lane, in general. Not always,
Well,
but
she's
in
also
general,
notoriously like
she can run well.
absolutely horrific against Fizz, who can basically just ignore her whole kit.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of champs that really have conniptions into Fizz.
True that.
She can do her thing though. If she finds a good matchup and gets ahead early, like she's really kind of like a cool champion. And like you said, it's hard to kind of like create a setup where you're gonna be able to get in, deal the damage, and get out safely.
Yeah, she
Um,
just has to work so hard to do what
it's
other
almost like
champions do so
yeah,
little.
it's almost like if she's not in skilled hands, she can do one or the other. She can get in and deal damage, or she can kind of set up a good way out. But she has a really hard time doing both at once. But yeah, it's not like she can't do that. She just needs to be in the skilled hands. And I've definitely seen people wreck a game with Katarina. And if they're on your team, it's pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, she can definitely be impactful, but my personal opinion is I'd like a mid laner that's a little more consistent.
Daddy.
Yeah, a little more
Yeah.
steady. She's way too volatile. And there's like more CC than there's ever been in the game, so you know.
Oh, that's definitely not true. They used to have like 3-4 second point and click like hard CCs. I'd say there's less CC than there's ever been in the game.
Okay, that's never been true. So
That definitely has been true. Tarek, Fiddlesticks.
no one has ever had a 4 second CC in this game's history. Maybe in
Fiddlesticks,
Dota, every champ does.
Fiddlesticks Old Fear
Yeah,
used to be
it's
at
like
least
three,
three. I
three and
think
a
it was
half.
4 or 5
Ashes is
seconds.
like 3.5 or something.
Oh, 3.5.
Rammus's
Not
taunt
for a
used to be like
while.
3.5 or something.
I think there was one that used to be 5 seconds, which is absolutely absurd, but I think it did exist.
It doesn't really matter how long it is. It's just every champ has a way of disrupting someone these days, basically.
And of course, Morgana's last 3 years.
Yeah, that's really powerful. I'm
Yeah.
surprised she's maintained the low effort, consistent power throughout this as long as she's been around.
It's higher effort than it looks like. Like her
It's
Q
not.
is such a slow projectile.
Okay, next up we've got Lucian, and we got
Uh-huh.
pretty powerful buff to the second part of his passive that they added when Senna came out as kind of a whoop-to-do all buff to his passive. This is very powerful, honestly, especially when paired up with like cheesy things like Nami or whatever. It basically just makes his already obnoxiously good trading passive even more devastating. And in the early game, he's kind of the king of trading.
Yep. So this is the second shot or the bonus damage when he's healed or shielded.
This is the extra magic damage he does on hit every time he gets healed or shielded.
Okay, equal to 20% AD rather than 15 now.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, that's pretty nice.
but he was
Yeah,
super good when they didn't even have this passive.
Nami's the kind of the chalk pick to pair with Lucian, but this will obviously work on a lot of different champions. throw him on with Karma or Janna early game, he can still be a threat.
Yep.
Yeah, and piercing light, 10 less damage. Does this matter compared to the light slinger buff?
It matters less just because you're going to get so much more use out of Light Slinger.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so much more. That is if you're with an enchanter. If you're with, like, an engage support, you won't even be able to use your passive. And that's just
Oh,
how
I
it,
actually
it's
didn't
just how
realize
it
this.
is.
I'm looking at it now. Hang on, hang on. Whenever Lucian is healed or shielded, did I just say healed?
It stacks like
Uh,
several times. So
or when a nearby enemy is immobilized, his next 2 shots are empowered to deal bonus magic damage.
yeah,
So
but
if
you
you're
can't
like with
get multiple
Leona or something,
stacks.
you could. Sorry.
Yeah, but if you had an enchanter on your team, he can hold up to like several stacks or something like that.
Oh, true. But still, like, what if what if you have like Leona or something that immobilizes them with E and then immobilizes them again with Q?
I don't know. It's hard to even notice it's
Okay.
happening. I hope it works the way it's intended. I don't know.
And
The way
it
it's,
sounds to me like that would be like 4 stacks. That would be like pretty damn good, honestly, especially since Leona's able to put out a lot of damage as well. Or Nautilus also, has the two even without his ultimate, two immobilizes and laning. Yeah, so that's actually pretty damn good.
that's probably
I
why
have
he's
to be
so
honest, I
dominant right
didn't.
now.
I knew about the heal shield. I didn't know that that he also got stacks when the support immobilized him. That's pretty damn cool. So he'll pair with almost anybody except maybe like a traditional support. Like I don't know that you'd really want them with like Lux. Yeah, she could proc it once with her Q. Um, or Vagar, but like almost anybody else, right? An enchanter, even most defenders have one way to like heal or shield an ally. Um, or an engage support, who always have a way to immobilize an enemy. That's pretty damn cool. Lucian is one of those champions though that like I feel like even though he does relatively a lot of the same things that you would expect an ADC to. I feel like Lucian is usually strong when ADCs are not good, and is weak when classic ADCs are good.
That is a great and very accurate observation.
Yeah, it's almost like the way that you sneak around, like being able to play an ADC when ADCs aren't good.
I'd also, anyone that's picking up AD carry, I would say Lucian is the best AD carry to pick up first. Because he
Interesting.
kind of, you can ignore kind of the more hardcore AD carry fundamentals while still
Uh-huh.
making use of his passive to basically put out roughly the same DPS. And he's just very user friendly, and it's very easy to play off of your support or play
Uh-huh.
safe. And yeah, he's just very cool,
Yeah,
very
I
easy
guess
to
his
play.
mobility is easier to use than certain other ADCs are.
I think Misfortune and Ezreal are you're going to get yourself into more trouble trying to contribute than Lucian. Lucian, I feel like, is very much more user friendly.
Yeah. Israel, while safe, is like surprisingly high skill requirement, and then MF, obviously low skill requirement, but also very unsafe, very vulnerable. So yeah, the fact that Lucian's getting some small buffs here overall, even moderate buffs, if you want to call it that. Probably a symbol that ADCs are good in general, because
I
I
like
certainly
it.
don't see.
He's my most played AD carry the last 2 years, probably.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't see you on them too much. All right. Next is Oriana, 5% more AP on a very spammable skill. Anything worth talking about here?
Uh, Not really. I mean, it's a big buff. Considering I don't think that ratio has ever really been changed since she got out. Her ultimate and her W have
It's
been
never
buffed
40?
like 10 times. I used to play her a shitload a long time ago, but now it's kind of like I don't know. I grew up and I attached to other things. Uh, no, it's definitely a good buff. I think right now the W max is kind of the where it's at right now for the burst in the early game.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, not a lot to say about it. But she's in a really great. She's in a better place now than she's ever been. There have been so many buffs to her ultimate and her
Yeah,
W that she's
that's
truly
ridiculous damage
disgusting.
on the ultimate.
I'm old enough
Yeah.
to remember when like the AP ratio on her ultimate was like 50-60% or something. Right now it's like
Mhm.
95. And the
Yeah,
base damage on it's been buffed like 5 times or something.
she struggles a little bit into like hypermobile champs, you know, like she's gonna sometimes struggle against assassins, and certainly I would think like she would be countered by someone like Aurora.
I don't know. As far as
You know, just
mages
that's
go,
gonna be
you can tend to do all right against other mages.
yeah. I think against other mages she does well, right? Because mages traditionally don't have a lot of mobility. And you know, Oriana has decent range and tons of damage if you can actually hit somebody with your ball. Def- All right, lots of changes to Kiana. Why don't you tell us about them?
Well, this is one of my least favorite champions, and I assume a lot of people don't really care for this champion, which is why you never really see her. And because she's just like so she's kind of like AD Fizz. You just don't really interact with her too much, and she just blows you up anytime she wants. We got like a massive nerf to her ultimate, or which is pretty. It is ridiculously strong, and then we got base
Yeah,
damage on hit on her W is also taking a big hit, and then her
but
Q, where she tosses whatever her E terrain thing she activates, is also taking a big,
well,
a small
no, this
buff.
is a
But
buff. This is buff. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. It's more base damage early, less base damage late, but considerably more bonus AD ratio.
well, that's pretty crazy because when she does the double red one, she chunks you pretty damn good. So yeah, that's pretty damn crazy. I don't know if let's see, she gained 30 there and then lost 50 from her ultimate. So yeah, I don't know. Her ultimate is ultra cheesy.
Yeah, I would say like this can be a buff or a nerf overall, depending on the player. I think for a very good player that's going to be able to proc Edgevix style, the that's the Q, right? Yeah, that's the Q. Several different times, or even a few different times in a fight. This is probably not a nerf overall. Just because you know that's going to have more uptime than obviously a very long cooldown and very powerful ultimate. Um,
She can't really miss her Q, so for her to be able to do it twice with this buff is probably
yeah,
more stronger than having the nerf on her ultimate, in my
it's
opinion.
just you gotta be very smart with how you're moving around to be in a fight long enough to do it 2 or 3 times, to do it 3 times, let's say.
Cooldowns
Where
are pretty generous.
they are, and obviously you get one for free with Terra Shape. Um, but again, even that takes a little bit of you know, planning or you know, or skill to do. What takes a little bit less skill is to just like absolutely wreck a team fight. You know, with Kiana, when people are stacked up in a dragon pit or something like that.
Yeah,
And
this.
so yeah, so for the for the not so good Kianas out there, the fact that it's doing 125% of your bonus AD instead of 170 is definitely going to hurt.
I think she's by far one of the most like boring, unfun, uninteractable champions they've put out. I think she's just like Fizz, except when Fizz comes barreling towards you, it's kind of like you understands what's happening. Kiana
Uh,
does like the whole thing so fast. It's like what, and you feel like you can't even interact with her kit because so much of it is so fat and connects with terrain so easily that it's like what.
I hear what you're
You
saying.
know, it's such a
I hear
silly
what you're
champ.
saying. Yeah, the hitboxes are a little bit weird, and it happens very fast on like Fizz. But you know, if I'm shooting a polymorph at her, right, it's a lot easier to interact with her than Fizz, who just sees it coming, hits W, and oh, you're done. I still prefer playing against Kiana as a you know, an enchanter or a control type of player, or even like a mage mid. I still feel, you know, if I'm Vagar or something like that, I still feel like I probably got a fairer deal playing against Kiana than Fizz.
Oh no, she's
But
way more BS than Fizz.
I definitely hear what you're saying. Um, and yeah, in some of those like fights near Baron or Drake Pit, she is the best. Um, she can act because that ultimate comes with a stun if she hits you too. So dealing 170% bonus AD plus a good base damage plus that stun where she can then get in and do the rest of her damage in her kit very quickly. It's completely normal for her to hit her ultimate and you cannot hit a single button before you gray screen.
Yep.
That is completely normal if she's not very far behind. And that won't happen as much anymore with this. So I kind of like these changes, and I think that for skilled Kiana players that are actually like good at getting in and out, maybe they'll use their Q twice. The second time they'll use the grass so they can hide and let their cooldowns reset, and then get back in and try to finish the job. I think that's a very cool and fair type of gameplay, and I think that is being rewarded or at least not punished with these changes. Yeah, I think a good set overall.
I'm just glad that she's just so unpopular.
Yeah, who's the most popular assassin now?
I think it's always Zed. You always see a lot of Zed.
I don't see that much Zed.
Well, he's banned a lot too, but I think you see a lot of. And if you include like Yasuo or Yon, I think you see.
I've
them
seen
more.
more. I don't consider them. Yeah, I don't really consider them.
I would say
assassins.
Zed though, definitely.
Alright.
He's just so. You can do well without putting a lot of time into it.
There was a while I saw a lot of Nefiri.
Yeah, Johnny. That's like Johnny's new hype right now. That's all he's been playing for like the past like 2 months. It seems
Nefiri,
pretty insanely low effort to me. It's like
lower effort than
it
reaction.
seems barely just above or below Briar levels of like low effort. I've watched him play it enough times. It's like, okay, you just run up to someone. It's like I don't know. It's pretty silly.
I don't know. I've seen some bad Nefiris. I don't think she's like a no-skill champion. I don't think she's like a Nasus or something.
No, she's more like a Xin Zhao. It's like just one-dimensional. I kill you, you kill me. Okay, I'm done. Except she's got like resets. Xin Zhao's just like, well, now I wait. That's pretty much. That's pretty much what she is. She's just Xin Zhao.
Doesn't have a vulnerability like Sin has, though. Anyway, Senna, we have some really interesting changes here. We've got less attack speed growth, less critical strike chance from her stacks, and then kind of a lot of, basically a lot of buffs to her other utility, but most of those buffs are based on her AP or her bonus AD. So I'm not totally sure what to think about this. You tell me what to think about this, Chrissy.
I think what to think about this is it's pretty clear that the lethality builds aren't as strong now as just building her AD carry standard now, is what the thinking is. And also, her heal's always been like a joke, especially in the late game. It's one of the worst heals, if not the worst heal in the game. So I'm glad it's getting some more scaling. One thing I would have liked to see was like a mist ratio on her Q to, more excuses to collect more mist. Stuff like
the actual worst heal in the game is it's Milius.
Yeah, he sucks. He sucks too for many reasons. But as for the absolution change here, where she's going to take her long to get to 100, and keep in mind, she starts generating free lifesteal when she gets to 100% critical strike, and she doesn't have to get all 100 of that from her passive. She can have like 25, 50 from items, and then another 50 from her passive. Once she gets to 100, a percentage of her bonus critical strike is converted into lifesteal. So that's going to forestall some of this slightly. She's very strong in the late game. I actually think she's one of the best designed champions to come out in a long time.
We disagree.
I know we bitch about Pyke, and you think Sanders. I hate Senna.
I'm not gonna bitch about Senna today. I just want to ask you, like, so they really, they doubled the AP ratios on some of her heals and shields.
That's just like meaningless, barren nonsense.
Right. I'm asking you. You think there's any reason that she, any way that she can add any type of item besides maybe, I can't even see her using like Winsu's, any item that that offers any AP into her kit. Anything?
I was about to say the only one that makes sense is Ginsu's, and it's because the Phantom Strike thing of Ginsu's makes her Q come up faster, and her Q is basically everything it does plus adding an auto attack.
Yeah,
So
but her attack
it
speed
isn't
is
super
not
troll.
her attack speed is not fast enough to ever justify Gwynce's, is it?
Um, like if you're building a crit, you're probably going to have attack speed.
Not as much anymore. Remember, like they separated crit and attack speed on a lot of the items.
Yeah, I think it's. I don't think
Yeah.
Insu's is good right now because it just makes it take longer for you to start getting lifesteal. So
Yeah. So we do have better like bonus AD ratios on her piercing darkness at the Q, right?
yes,
Yeah, so we do have better like heal and slow ratios for building AD, and that's kind of nice. And some of the base numbers were increased as well. Quarter extra second if you hit the circle that she shoots at. It's called Last Embrace, apparently. Quarter extra second of root is nice, but like that's kind of a hard skill to hit outright.
it's just a line.
Yeah, but like the Morgana Q, it doesn't move very fast. Um, and she's losing. Late game, she's losing. 30% of her base attack speed. And that doesn't mean that you're attacking 30% less, but it means that you're basically losing the equivalent of a 30% attack speed item
It's
just
kind
from
of
her
hard to
natural.
it's hard to quantify because she has
Yeah.
special math for her like
Uh-huh.
attack windup. If you go to her page, it'll explain how all the special cased like math that goes on for her auto attack windup and attack speed growth and stuff. Similar
Good
to
point.
like Jin or Graves, she has special rules that she obeys for stuff that
Good
the
point.
other AD carries don't. So I don't really know how that affects her too much. I wouldn't worry about it a ton. Uh,
Yeah, and
yeah,
the
as
crit
long as she
strike.
still gets like all the range at the good thresholds that she has before, I
Yeah,
think
the
she'll
crit
still be
strike for
good.
20 stacks, not that big of a deal. So you don't think that the attack speed growth, which looks kind of big, you don't think that's actually real big?
I mean, it's
Overall, would you say this is buff store?
uh the absolution thing makes me a bit upset, but yes, I
Mhm.
guess it is a buff. It's definitely a buff for like support Senna, which is really the only thing you
Sure.
see now. No one has the balls to play her like AD carry anymore. Yeah, I think the heal is definitely nicer, and the slow is definitely going to end. The slow is already pretty powerful right now, so it's going to be almost impossible for her not to harvest the mist off you with a slow that strong now. So
Yeah, I mean, the only bonus you got to the slow was based off of bonus ADs. That's a late game thing. But
well, it's been buffed before.
yeah, it has. Yeah, this is definitely interesting. Do you think this pushes her? Obviously, it pushes her away from a lethality build into more of an AD or crit build.
I
But
think the lethality builds were always silly. I think she always should have just been building like 80 carry.
they were good for a while, though. I mean, definitely silly, but they were kind
Yeah,
of good.
but you can build straight damage on like anyone, and it'll
Yeah.
probably look good. That doesn't mean
Aside
that the
from a
crit
build,
stuff isn't better.
do you think this pushes her into a different play style at all?
No, I think she's pretty hard lined into support at the moment. I think she could get by playing 80 carry. As long as she can collect the mist, she can scale very well, and
Yeah, but
she's still monstrous in the late game.
she's still a support that is looking to build AD and do damage, though. It's not like she's like a support looking to mostly use her support skills on allies and then that's their value or anything.
Oh no, you want to carry?
Yeah. So yeah, it's almost kind of a shame that they went AP on the heal and shield ratios rather than just giving her a little bit more ratio on AD than they did. But still interesting changes to Senna overall. I guess we'll see where she lands going forward.
I wish she had like a better mist scaling on her ultimate. I wish the shield was based on some of her mist. I think that would be cool.
Yeah, that would be neat.
All right, next up we've got Skarner, who has been nerfed over and over and over
Yeah,
again
nerfed
since his
so many
rework.
times in a row.
Next up we've got 20 more HP. We've got a little more AD now. but now we've got less bonus AD on hit of his first couple autos when he gets the rock on his Q. I mean, more, right.
These are straight buffs, but like generally he's not building a lot of AD, is he?
Well, that was the whole point. He did such massive health damage so he could just go tank.
Yeah.
So, no, you're not really going to be able to use this. The old Skarner was way more auto attack heavy.
Yeah, there are certainly a few items in the game that give you both a lot of health and considerable AD.
No, I feel like Skarner's kind of morphed into like basically the same stuff that like Cassante builds, and you're never going to see like Cassante build any AD, are you? I don't think so. No, he's just going to build his tank stuff, you know?
Yeah.
I don't see Skarner building like Sterix or Black Cleaver or the green thing.
He could possibly build Bork, right?
The old Skarner would. I don't really think this Skarner would.
Because he gets attack speed. He has an attack speed steroid, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think when he first picks up the rock, his first two autos are a little faster.
Yeah, and then also, like, he has the percent health damage already in his kit. So to combine that with more from the Bork, I mean, I don't know. I've seen very little Skarner on the Rift.
You see, when he first came out, that's what I thought would be good, too. You just go Bork and then just go straight tank after that. And between his Bork and his passive and all his health damage, he'd basically just be set for the whole game. But
anyway, this is the second buff in a row after all the nerfs that he took. Seems like they went a little too far nerfing him into the ground.
Yep. Alright, next up we've got Sylas, who got some monstrous nerfs in the last patch. Now we're getting a little more oomph back. We've got 20 more health at level 1, a little bit extra damage from his passive, which procs like 8 times a trade. And then we got slightly more damage to his W. But this doesn't affect the heal component at all.
And last patch, this was something that we both agreed. That they missed the mark on Sylas, and that they were going to be nerfing him more than they expected to, because they gave him a health ratio on Kingslayer. But Sylas is the type of champ that, in order to be tanky, you still need to be able, and in order to be effective, you still need to build a lot of AP on him. You can't really go a tanky build on Sylas. You can work some HP into your build, but you need a lot of AP. And they nerfed his AP ratio so much on the last patch that giving him a nice health ratio was meaningless. So it looks like they're giving him some damage back. They're giving him a little bit of an AP ratio back. They're giving him a little bit more, extra tank stats without having to build items. I still think they're going to need to go a little bit further. They definitely missed the mark with those nerfs last patch.
Yeah, they're really nickel and diming him with these buffs. If they really wanted to help him and kind of capitalize on the one thing they did for him last patch, they should also add like a health ratio to his passive.
What if they gave him almost like a Vlad passive where he got like AP from his health, got health from his AP?
I think that'd be a bit shameless if that was literally what it did.
I mean, just something like, in that constellation.
Maybe if he got like 25%. No, not 25. Maybe if he got like 15 or 20% armor and MR for his AP. Like, you remember...
Interesting. That would make it more effective to build health.
Xerath's first passive, where he got armor for AP.
Xerath?
Yeah, Xerath's original passive.
That's crazy.
It was called like Mage Armor or something. Yeah, he got like 25% of his AP was converted into armor.
Was he the type of champ that could actually like semi-frontline, or did they just completely misalign the kit with the passive?
Back when he first came out, he had this W that was called like Lotus of Power, if memory serves, and he would root himself and become like a turret. And I think he'd gain bonus armor, I think, when he was on the thing.
Wow.
This was like back in season 3 or 4 or something.
Oh, that's funny. I don't remember that.
Oh, he's so much better now. Shit.
I don't remember too much about him before his last major rework.
He was garbage when he came out, man. He was one of the worst. He was so bad when he came out.
It is funny to look back and see how they had like cool ideas in the early season, in beta or alpha to maybe like first half of season 2. and they had like all these cool ideas, a lot of which were stolen from Dota. Um, but they didn't really have an idea of they didn't really have like a good overall sense of how to align champions' skills together, or how to align their skills and their passive to make a coherent playstyle. They've gotten very good at that.
Yeah.
Renata Glask aside. They've gotten very good at that over the years, and clearly have, a lot of like design wisdom behind them. But it is funny to look back at some of those some of those champs from the early days. One more thought on Sylas. What if maybe like you know how they love like 3-hit passives? What if maybe he got something where he got where he got some type of like bonus health for a short time after he hit 3 skills on enemies? You would get bonus health for a short time based on the amount of AP you get.
Here's the thing. You remember in the durability update when everyone got like 300 or 400 extra health at 18?
Oh, I remember that. That was my first batch notes video.
Well, him and like Galio and Kled and Rise were like the only champions who already had like 24, 2500 health at 18. And so late in the game, Sylas looks like he's already has like a whole nother health item than like every other champion in the game. Because when the durability update happened, he basically just already had like 3000 health at 18. So
you think that would just be too much? Although at the same time, like giving him armor and magic resist is almost like giving him another health bar too.
I think if they had to move him into more of a bruiser direction, giving him some kind of defensive reward. I'll be honest, I think he was just fine before the nerfs. So
I agree with you, right? Like I'm just trying to like workshop maybe ways that we can make that health ratio relevant, but it was just kind of a bad idea to start with.
I think kind of the funnest thing about his kit is when they heavily reduce the cooldown on his like ultimate at like rank 3, so he can steal like more than one person's ultimate in a fight. I think emphasizing into like that kind of play, I think, is actually more fun.
Completely agree. I thought that was very cool, and
if they
obviously, make them weak early, powerful late, but overall, I think a good champion, and I thought the change last patch was unwarranted, and I think that these half make goods kind of prove that we were both right.
Yeah. All right, next up, we've got a big buff to Syndra's ultimate. And you don't see a lot of changes for her.
You get 6 or 7 spheres out. This is 60 or 70 more damage at every level, including 6, which is nice. But anything to say about Syndra in general?
Not really. I think even though they tried to kind of slightly rework her, she still basically plays the same she has since she was released. I don't know why they even bothered to like do what they did with her. She's definitely in the strongest. I think she's in the strongest state now than she's ever been, though, with the bonuses she get when she maxes out her purple crystal resource thing that her passive has.
I couldn't disagree with you more. I think she was in a really strong state, maybe a year or two before her rework.
Unless absolutely ridiculously impossible that she's worse now. She gets an insane, massive bonus to her total AP when she finishes her thing. And her ultimate just is guaranteed to just execute you, which is just absurd.
Great, that's once she has like 100 shards. Like she used to be a strong laner, and now she's not. And honestly, compared to like some of the other champs that start weak and scale, Aurelion Sol, she's just nothing compared to them. Like him.
I don't know.
Give me a Sylas every time over a Syndra.
I think she's still really strong. I don't think she's ever been super dominant in the laning phase.
I don't think she's been strong at any point since. I'm not saying she's necessarily been terrible, but I don't think she's been strong overall at any point since her rework. They also just made it. They just made a lot of her skills more uncomfortable to use.
They haven't changed.
What?
They haven't changed, really.
They have. They have.
They have not.
Not only have they changed, not only did the angle of the E change, it changes throughout the game as well.
Okay, well, if that's true, everyone knows it goes in a straight line still.
It goes in a cone.
Well, yeah, but you only use it to push the spheres in a straight line.
Sure,
If
sure, sure,
anything,
sure.
they clean that
But
up
the angle
because
at
it
which you
was
can hit the
crazy.
spheres actually changes within the game. I think this was one of the few like poor champion reworks they've done, and I don't see her much because she's not popular and she's more uncomfortable than ever to use.
I think she's always not been that popular. I don't think it's because she's weak though.
She was literally, I think, during season
Yeah,
it was
you're
either
right.
three,
She was
four,
a
or five.
mainstay for a while back when
Yeah,
there
yeah,
was like a
she
more
was the most
consistent main
popular mid
pin.
laner in the game. She was like, probably 70-80% pick ban.
Yeah, but that was also
Um,
probably in a time where we didn't have half the champs we have now. So
that was for several. Uh, no, because most of the new champs they added to the game were during
I don't think
seasons
just
2 and
because
3.
like time has marched on that she's just
Yeah,
inherently in a bad place now. I think
I don't
she's
know.
not you're right, she's not as lane dominant because more lane dominant things are everywhere now.
Well, also because they made her so much less lane dominant in her
And
rework
she definitely
specifically.
does more damage now than she ever has.
They took away so many of her base numbers early on.
You're right. She's never been. I don't think she's really been super dominant in the laning phase.
And she was known as a lane bully for a while.
Eh,
Guess we've got to agree to disagree, my friend.
yep. Next up, we've got Vi, and we got
Uh,
an increase to her Q,
yep,
which,
5 to 10 extra damage.
yep. This isn't what you have to max first in the jungle to clear, but it is a very nice base numbers, and the ratios are stupid powerful. As anyone knows that's played against Vi's that actually build a ton of like AD instead of tank stuff, she'll just
I don't think this really moves the
fuck
needle
you
though.
up. Yeah, it doesn't.
She's a fun champ. I'd like to see more of her, so I'm always happy whenever she gets buffed.
She's okay. She's never been one of my least favorite champs just because she's like so one dimensional. I don't really find her that interesting. But a couple of my friends really like her, so
Yeah, back when she was created, she was one of the most interesting champs in the game. But we're going back a long way to season 3. Maybe some bigger changes to Weasel Wu. Tell us about those.
well, let's see. We've got slightly more armor early and later, and then
Every stack.
it's more cheesy early on and better late game in the team fights. I haven't seen him top in like a millennia, but if he did go top, I'm sure whoever be playing him would be a cheese lord because there's really only one way to play Wukong.
I've seen him top a couple times, but mostly in the jungle.
Yeah,
Yeah, I call him Weasel Wu for a reason. You gotta play him like a cheese lord. I feel like he has a champ that deals a lot of damage as he gets in, and then usually explodes afterwards. So I do feel like the bonus armor for every stack where he or his clone hit. Even though it's only 1 extra armor for each stack, I think that 6 extra armor, and it's too bad that there's no magic resist on that. But even 6 extra
I know.
armor
He used to
for the
have that.
way that he plays, I think is significant. And then a little bit of bonus attack speed is nice, but I think that the stone skin buff actually is significant and might move the needle a little.
I think when he first came out, he got like 5 to 10 armor and MR for every enemy that was next to him.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Although, I mean, look, now even with one enemy next to him, he can get 60 extra armor. That's pretty damn good.
Once upon a time, he was one of my go-to junglers and top laners a long, long time ago. He's way better now, but I remember playing a lot of Wukong versus Riven games back in the old days.
Oh, lots of leaping around. Man, that would just be a sight to see in Arena if they both had Earthquake.
I've never played Arena and don't have any intention
The
to. So.
Earthquake is every time you hop, you leave behind a little trail that deals like 1,000 damage to everyone in it, like a half a second later.
Sounds kind of overtuned.
Yeah, that's like the one rune that's just like massively overtuned. They haven't done much about.
Why don't they just make the rules the same as the regular game?
Um, Basically, like, I think for the same reason that roguelikes are fun, like, they want every version of that to be a little different so it never gets stale. There's not as much, like, overall grand strategy, there's not as much communicating with your team. So, there's definitely a lot of, like, fun action gameplay in Arena, but they're also, in order to keep it strategically interesting, they try to mix it up every game, and honestly, I think they succeed. Arena's one of the best things they've ever done.
Is there 5-on-5 in that?
It's 2-on-2 on, it's 2-on-2.
Oh, I was
Yeah.
about to
Yeah.
say if they did 5-on-5 arena, then you'd actually get to see what it's like to have team fights again instead of chasing split pushers the whole game. We get to see what team fights are like again.
I mean, that's what
Oh,
ARAM are, dude.
yeah, pretty much. That's why I play it, I guess. You get to play the game still.
All right. Anything that Yorick can importantly proc with the fact that Main's attacks can proc ultimate effects, which is a nice change because he'd have no other way to do it. But anything that he could actually use effectively here?
There is one item. It's that new item that gives him a shitload of
Oh,
movement speed when you bust your ultimate, and the stats are good for
okay.
Yorick. I forget what it's called because no one buys it. It's basically
There's got to be a cooldown on it, right?
no, I don't think there's a static cooldown on it because most champions' ultimates are like minutes or something.
So they're allowing Corky to use it every 3 seconds.
Well, he would never buy it because it doesn't give like crit attack speed or anything like that. It gives like 30 or 40 AD and like 3 or 400 life, and maybe it gives armor. I don't think so though. And it gives like ability haste and then ultimate ability haste or something, just like Malignance does. And then when
Are you
you
talking about Axiom Arc? No, that's the
no
assassin.
when you use your ultimate, you get a bunch of movement speed,
Huh.
and so that would work on his thing. Forget what it's called. No one buys it. Sometimes you see it on like Saturn-Darius or something like that. I don't know.
So that'd be interesting to see if people start using any type of like ultimate items effectively. Honestly, York's such a degenerate champ. I hope it doesn't work.
He sure is.
Yeah.
If I could ban two champs, top lane, the second one I would ban would be York.
First one is Trin.
Oh, you're right. I think I'd rather ban. You're right. I'd rather lane against Yorick than Trendemir. So if I had a third one, I'd ban Yorick. No, the first one I always ban is Nasus because it like doesn't matter how much you shit on him. He's basically just gonna run your shit over no matter what. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Every year, Nasus just gets more and more ridiculous. It's like insane.
You should just play him then, man. Freelo.
I do. I love Nasus. I just don't want to
You
play
can't
against
play
him.
him if you ban him.
I love playing Nasus. I just don't. It's not fun anymore. The risk of playing against him, it just like warps the game to such a state where it's like not even. It's not even fun anymore because you dumpster him so hard. He's like, nope, I'm still going hard, man. He's like, oh, I'm 10-0. Well, I'm gonna split push the whole game. Oh, I'm 0-10. Well, I suck now, so I'm gonna split push.
Third down in 2 shots.
He's absolutely it's stupid, you know.
Yeah, that's his definition of easy mode champion.
And
Anyway,
his worst counters like can barely keep him down like pre-6. He used to have like absolutely damning counters. Now they all lose to him as soon as he like basically gets his ultimate. And it's like fucking ridiculous.
yeah, maybe like Fiora can still get him.
Oh no. If she's like full build and she plays it right, yeah, maybe she can pop him late. But he just does so much damage and gets so tanky, it's silly. The best things used to be like Trundle, Olaf, Pantheon used to be really good against him early on. Garen, if you can like literally sit on his nuts the whole laning phase, can be okay against him. It's wretched though.
You think
sad.
Garen would lower himself to sitting on dog nuts?
If he builds like the silly cheese, like attack speed crit build, you can keep Nasus down and tower dive him over and over. But outside of that, he just like it's so silly. Like if I was Nasus, I'd be dreaming to lane against things like Teemo or Vayne top. It's like it doesn't even matter anymore.
Pretty much everybody does well against Teemo.
Yeah, it's like he doesn't even have bullies anymore. It's just like okay, if I even get 100 stacks, you're done. It's crazy. That's a shame because I used to play him so much and I used to love how busted he was, but now I just feel ashamed of myself.
As
And
you should.
that was like the pre-Divine Sunderer era too. It's like he just gotten so silly since then.
Yeah, when I play top, because I'm not great at it, I don't feel ashamed for having to lean on a crutch like Nessus.
Oh, so silly. Anyway, let's move on to some item changes. We've
All
got
two of them.
some thing where there's no longer a lockout to get max stacks of cleaver. I'm trying to think of who this affects or what the point of it was.
Oh, 1 second. So, what is the wording on Black Cleaver? Is it when you do physical damage? Could it be maybe like Darius's Hemorrhage? Like, he'll, if it ticks at the same time that he deals damage, he wouldn't get a stack for it, or?
I mean, like every
Oh,
tick?
no. The Hemorrhage is a bleed. It's not physical damage, right?
Well, it's a bleed that is physical.
It is physical damage.
It used to be magical a long time ago.
Might be for something like that then.
No, it's going to be for someone that has an ability that does multiple instances of physical damage but does them really fast. For the longest time, the person who was like the cheesiest with Black Cleaver was Graves, because each one of his pellets was special case to be like a whole different ability. So if he shot you like one time, he'd max out Black Cleaver. But these days, Graves just
an on-hit effect that that would actually proc Black Cleaver twice.
I'm
if you
sure,
use that on like an auto or something, or would that only be special case to only work once anyway? I don't know.
Well, they're like lifting this restriction, so there must be something cheesy they want to let through the floodgates and subject the world to.
It's also possible they just realize that there's no reason to have this because there is nothing cheesy you can use with it.
Foresight and Riot aren't two things I put together.
Yeah. I don't know. My guess would be if there's actually like a reason they did this, it's Hemorrhage.
There's probably, I bet you,
the exact same time that you use the skill on them.
I bet there's 2 or 3 champions that have an ability that have multiple instances of physical damage, but because they all occur at the same time, it was only giving them 1 stack instead of 2 or 3 or 4 or something. That's probably what happened.
Well, shouldn't it still only give them 1 stack, though? You only dealt physical damage once, even though it was multiple instances in the same
Well, that's not how it works with Graves, so there might be another champion like Zeri. Her might do it like 6 times or some crazy shit, too. I don't know. But
I mean,
I bet that's how it works,
Graves doesn't get to just, like, hit somebody with a shotgun and get 6 stacks immediately, does he?
He gets 1 stack for every pellet, so he gets 3 if it's a regular auto, and he gets like 5 if it's a crit, so he stacks it basically right away.
So he can stack the whole Black Cleaver in 1?
Yeah, pretty much. That's...
Oh, wow.
They special cased that for him a long, long time ago, so he could run Black Cleaver.
I see.
But now, all Graves is just run crit now. I haven't seen a Graves with Black Cleaver in a very long time.
Right, yeah, it's been a while since I've seen that, too.
Since the days where they always used to build like Lethality.
This game is weird. Blade of the Ruined King.
Alright, now, we got a very nice buff to this. It was 12% for kind of a while when this was basically just insane. Well, it's more damage than it was with the passive effect, and I think that's the most important.
You go ahead and explain, then I'll explain why you're wrong.
Okay, well, I know you're going to say, like, yes, it does 5 less damage, but you're doing 1% of someone's current life. And yeah, you're getting less attack speed, but I feel like the only reason people buy this item is they have like a, you know, you're a champion it doesn't feel awkward on. And I know there's not as many melee champs that can buy this and it not feel awkward on, but the ones that do are really good at it, like Trundle, Aurelia, a couple others I'm not really thinking of, Gnar, well, he's range melee, whatever. But yeah, there's a couple of them, and when this was like at 12%, whoo, man, this was a mythic item amongst the era of mythic items, even though it wasn't. Blade of the Ruined King was a powerhouse on, like, I mean, it did, that was a time where it did like 12% for melee, and it only did like 8% for ranged at this point, or something like that. And
yeah, so it was nice when it was at 12, but first of all, yeah, like, this is really, really sad for the champs like Kog'Maw and Tristana, who wanted to use it, who are ranged champs, and are getting nothing but a nerf. As far as the 1% for current health for some of the champs that you mentioned, those are champs generally like good AD ratios. And even putting that aside for a second, if you assume that like an average champ will have maybe like 3,000 HP, and that at any given time they might have an average of 1,500 current health, you're getting 150 instead of 135 damage with each hit for the Miss Edge passive here. So that's 15 extra damage. But you're losing 5 damage on every hit, and you're losing 5 damage on, or you're losing 5 AD for all of your skills with AD ratios. In addition to that, you're also attacking maybe 2 to 3% less than you would otherwise do. So, I mean, not only are you proccing this passive 2 to 3% less, so you can really look at it as like 9.7% health rather than 10, but you're also getting the base damage from your auto attack, which is significant, about 2 to 3% less. Even for those melee champs, I think this is a very slight nerf in general. And for range champs that wanted to use Bork, this is a real nerf that is starting to push it out of contention for being able to use it. I mean, when Kraken Slayer exists and there's, Lord Dominic's Regards, it's like, where do you find Bork in your builds if you're someone like Cog?
Oh, well.
If you're someone like Tristana, if you're somebody, yeah. I mean,
you're
if
never
somebody
going to...
like
all the regular AD carries, you're never going to build Bork, even before this nerf, because it doesn't give crit. And if you want your lifesteal item, you're going to get Bloodthirster, so there's no real reason to get Bork anymore. And if you're Kog'Maw or maybe Callista or some other people, Vayne, maybe
there's another good one. Vayne is another good one. Tristana.
I don't think
these champs that can auto attack very quickly. Yeah, like Vayne can't use this anymore. Yes.
I don't. One of the reasons I always play Vayne with tank items is to prove how stupid her W is, and Vayne can use anything. Her W is that broken, and it has been for millennia. Vayne can build anything. She's so stupid.
I built full tank Corki a couple times, and
you just get Ginsu's and she's done. You're finished.
In Nemesis mode, where you could pick your opponent's champs, and I would just pick 5 ADCs for the enemy team, 5 like auto attack heavy ADCs, and build Thornmail. And so usually the other team would catch on and start making us also pick a lot of ADCs. So I would often be building like a full tank ADC, and actually doing pretty well with it.
It's absolutely preposterous with Vayne because she's so fast, and not only is she hard to catch, but you end up being so tanky. I had like another 80 carry on my team that's actually building like 100% crit or whatever, and I did more damage than them, and all I had was Ginsu's. So you can proc Silver Bolts more often, and I still did more damage than them. It's
a great combination with Silver Bolts, and like the lowering the attack speed here is significant.
Yep. I was just thinking of melee characters, but yeah, for range people, it's obviously a straight nerf.
This sucks. I think that it's been like nerfed to the point where it's going to be hard to use it on any range characters anymore. Yeah, a few melee champs, like you said, Trundle. What else did you have on there? Maybe I can get this. Yeah, Aurelia. I can see like Fiora maybe, or certainly Master Yi.
Oh yeah, Master Yi.
Yeah. There's ways to do that now, but it sucks that they've kind of because there's no other health opponent health scaling items. Obviously Lord Dominic's Regards increases your overall damage in a weird way, but in terms of actually taking a percentage of the opponent, they don't even have that.
They took that out of the game stupidly. So now Mortal Reminder has a passive, and that item just has no passive.
Right. So there's no way for range champions, particularly ADCs, to invest in taking off percentages of the opponent's health. Correct?
No, not really. Because cutdowns, the same patch they screwed the Lord Dominic's over, they also nerfed cutdown.
That's so weird because the ADCs really should be your best tool for cutting through tanks quickly. And it's not like they totally can't do that, but it's weird that there's no way to actually invest in going after max health.
Yeah, they need to bring back Madrid's Bloodrazor. Remember that one?
I remember the item. I don't remember exactly what it did though.
It was this big green claw. That's what it looked like.
And I remember what it looked like.
It had a cool stat lineup. It was awkward for the time, of course. It was 30 armor, 30 attack speed, and 20 AD, and all it did 4% of someone's max health on hit for magic damage.
Yeah, I think that's I agree. I think they should bring back something like
There
that.
were when that was in the game, there were so many champions where you could just build that and go tank because the damage output was just really good.
I think that would be like a better place to I think that would be like a better thing to have in the game than something like Kraken Slayer, which is just like on hit, fixed amount of damage each time.
Nah, they'll never put like such easy access to max health damage like that on an auto attack item. It's too good. It was too good
I
then.
mean, that's what Bork is.
Yeah, but the current health that makes it like a lot less underwhelming or a lot more
Oh, no,
underwhelming.
they can do current instead of max, and give it
Max
like
is
a
so
higher
much
ratio.
more
It doesn't
powerful.
really matter. But the whole point is that you're basically cutting down a champion that's built tons and tons of max health very quickly for the first half of their health bar. That's what's important for an item like that, and it sucks that ADCs don't have anything like that anymore.
Yep.
Yeah, at least they have some tools. And then finally, we've got a little nerf on Doran's Blood.
Yeah, every like
I
3 or
don't-
4 years, all 3 of the Dorn's items just get worse or stupider. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I don't think the Doran's items are good at all. I mean, I'm sure like in high level play, you need that lane power.
I think the shield's the
Right.
only good one now. I think the rest of them can like go to hell.
I built the shield sometimes, but like I still like
Even the shield's been nerfed a bunch.
Yeah, to the point where like you're getting like more regeneration from a rejuve beat. What can I say? Like, I think that you're kind of wasting your early gold and not wasting. Like you're getting power from it, but you're wasting essentially like getting a few hundred gold up towards your path to your first big item. And I don't think that the little bit of extra laning power you get is really worth it anymore. Turret plates aren't worth as much anymore. There's a lot of ways to come back from bad early laning. Yeah, I don't think the Doran's items are worth buying in general unless you have an incredibly bad matchup and are going to get like 0 CS. Without your Doran's item. I'd
Maybe
say
if,
just build the
they-
potion if you can, or yeah, there's no potions anymore. Yeah,
If-
just go towards your first item. Build a ruby crystal to start if you have to.
Maybe if they made all the Doran's items stack again, we could see some more use out of them. You remember when people would start the game with like 5 Doran's blades?
I do remember that. I thought they were idiots, but it was sometimes used in high level play. Yeah.
Or you get like 3 Doran's rings because for a time I think you got mana back for killing stuff.
Man, at that point, just buy a tier. Buy a tier.
Yeah, those were the days.
Yeah.
I think I would still
days
get
are
the
gone.
Doran's blade just because sustain can't really be it's just too good, even if it sucks. I think you stand to gain a bit more for starting with Doran's blade than getting like a short sword to start with that.
I mean,
Still.
it certainly is more powerful overall in that first few minute window, but yeah, just for the fact that it puts you a few hundred gold back from upgrading to your first big item, and it also has such a bad sell value. I always tended to go like potions over Doran's items.
Maybe they should just make all of the Doran's items actually eventually upgrade into
Now I'll
something.
just buy like a ruby or a crystal or a sapphire crystal to start the game if I need health or mana. And
What do you think of that?
If I take it really back and miss a wave, so be it. Like the amount of gold I'm missing from that wave. Granted, missing a little bit of experience too, but the amount of gold I'm missing from the wave is less than the amount that I'm losing on buying the Doran's Blood. Or the Doran's item. Oh well. Anyway, somehow we managed to stretch this this tiny little patch out to about 75 minutes.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I thought this was going to take like 30 minutes, maybe.
Yeah.
That's
The one thing we did
talking
manage to
about
do
death
is not
timers for
mention
an hour
Shen
and a
for the entire patch.
Yeah. I'd listen to you talk about death timers for an hour and a half.
We can talk about that timer some more if you want.
I'm definitely not talking about these arena changes, that's for sure.
Fair.
Rather talk about ARAM changes.
We're not doing that.
Okay, that will do it for patch 14.16. Got anything else to say?
Not really. Looking forward to your next cooking video, I guess. That was pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, that was kind of just a one-off fun thing to do. I had it in mind for like a long, long time, and as
Big per se.
that big hundred kept crawling forward, I'm like, oh my god, I'm actually gonna have to do that silly shit. I'm like, and
I
then
just can't believe how much you told me how much you actually spent on the ingredients for that. I nearly had a heart attack. Probably the same heart attack you had eating it.
I mean, it was a lot of bacon, so yeah, it was expensive. I mean, if you buy like 3 boxes of bacon, yeah, that makes sense.
I don't know if you want to say how much it was, but I've never spent that much on a sandwich in my damn life, man.
$46 a sub right there.
Oh my god.
But it was over a foot long,
Oh, ghetto
so
sandwich.
yeah, I mean it was monstrous. And I did get 2 meals out of it. It did defeat me. I wasn't able to, like my bold claim in the video, I wasn't able to enjoy it in just one sitting. It was pretty big. I tell people not to cut it in half at the end of the video because it can only be eaten in its purest, fullest form or something like that. So
And that's good advice.
yeah.
All right, I guess I will see you for patch 17. And yeah, not too many big changes here. So see you on the same rift that we had 2 weeks ago.